I used to think Apple TV was one of the most useless devices in the entire Apple ecosystem. I mean, every TV today already has smart features, so Apple TV just feels like paying for something you already have. Like seriously, who in their right mind would spend money on that? But with that statement, I was wrong. I ended up buying one, and I get why is that. So give me just 10 minutes and I'll make you want this thing too. I'll show you why not buying an Apple TV might actually cost you more in the long run and exactly how that happens. And just to be clear, this video isn't sponsored by Apple, I bought it myself. And by the end of this video, you might actually want one. First, let's start with the system specs and compare them to an ordinary TV or other streaming sticks. As you probably know, TVs are not equipped with a lot of RAM like a PC, which has 16 to 32 plus gigabytes, or phones, which have 8 gigabyte or 12 gigabyte. Usually, an ordinary TV has around 1 gigabyte or 1.5 gigabyte, maybe 2 gigabyte, and sometimes it can reach up to 4 gigabyte, right? And those are mostly premium TVs. And you might ask, what's the purpose of RAM in the first place on TVs? Because on laptops or PCs, that's obvious. While on TVs, you don't really think about it. But that RAM is what keeps the system smooth. It's responsible for how fast the interface feels, how quickly apps open, and how well everything runs on the background. When there's only 1 gigabyte, everything starts to lag, apps take forever to launch, and the whole experience just feels pretty slow. Now, if we compare that to Apple TV, it has around 4 gigabyte in the latest 2022 version, which is standard, and that makes Apple TV work smoothly over the years, just like your iPhone or MacBook. With Apple TV, you're not just limited to watching Netflix or YouTube. You can run multiple apps smoothly, play games, listen to music, and basically do everything you'd expect from a modern device, but just on a big screen. And storage is another big thing people don't think about TVs. Most TVs give you something like 4 gigabyte or maybe 16 gigabyte storage, which just fills up almost instantly. I mean, nowadays 16 gigabyte is nothing. You install a few apps and that's it, you're done. Apple TV on the other hand gives you 64GB or even 128GB depending on the model. I personally went with 64GB. I suppose that's more than enough for me. So when it comes to raw performance, Apple TV is on a completely different level compared to any built-in smart TV system. And clearly that alone already makes it worth it. But that's just the beginning because there are more. And the next thing about Apple TV that people seriously don't talk about enough is the interface. In one word, it's just clean. There's no clutter, no lag, no weird menus. Everything feels smooth and fast. And the pleasant thing is, you don't even think about it, it just works. And clearly, even after years, you probably won't see this thing becoming slow. Just like the old iPhones, as I said earlier, or MacBooks. That's one of the biggest upsides. And this all comes from the specs we talked about earlier because that power actually translates into real experience. You can watch 4K HDR content smoothly without stutters or delays. And again, this isn't something that will feel good or only for a year or two, if you treat them normally and don't break it. But here's the good thing that really made me think differently. Apple TV has 0 ads. Literally none. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, so I'm supposed to pay $150 just to avoid ads? But the reality is, you're paying anyway. Nobody gives you convenience for free. Those smart TVs and the cheap streaming sticks, they're full of ads, recommendations, sponsored content, and random trash apps you didn't ask for. Just look at a regular TV remote. Why do I need dedicated Netflix or Prime Video or even worse, random streaming service button taking up space? It's not a huge problem, sure, but it shows you how everything's built around pushing something onto you. Now compare that to the Apple TV remote. In one word, it is clear. No necessary buttons, no forced shortcuts, just what you actually need. And yeah, I like watching Netflix too, but I don't need it physically built into my remote. I mean, I get it, that's how marketing works. It's not even wrong, but personally, I don't want ads everywhere. I'd rather pay once, get a clean experience, and use it for years instead of constantly being sold something every time I turn on my TV. Because in the end, if you don't pay with money, you're paying with your attention. So it really comes down to your preference. If you want a smooth, powerful, no ad experience, then spending that extra $150 on an Apple TV after buying your TV actually makes sense. And if not, you'll be still paying, just in a different way. Now we're gonna talk about the best thing about the Apple TV that doesn't exist anywhere else, and that's the ecosystem. And excuse me here, but I haven't seen a single company that has made an ecosystem as smooth as Apple, so there's no doubt about it, I guess. But the best thing is that nowadays most of the planet owns something from Apple, and if you do, that's a good thing because you can use literally any Apple device together on Apple TV. For example, let's take the iPhone. That's probably the best example, and most people own an iPhone for sure. Now the thing is, if you have one, you can use it for many things. Let me explain. First, as soon as you turn on your TV and don't see the remote near you, if you have an iPhone, you can just use it as remote. You don't even need to open an app. The iPhone automatically adds a widget with the remote control. Second, if you don't like typing on the TV, which I personally hate, it feels like I'm steering a ship. Here's you can just use your iPhone's keyboard like you normally do. And that's much more convenient, not gonna lie, because you don't get tired of typing. Although the original remote control has a voice function where you can hold a button and say what you need. And it appears in the search bar, which is also really convenient. Third, you can use your iPhone's Face ID camera to calibrate your TV. It helps create a more natural and suitable colors for your screen, which is a cool feature, because sometimes you don't know what color settings are best. Here, just use your iPhone's front camera, it recognizes the color displayed by the TV and sends that information to the Apple box, adjusting the picture to be warmer or cooler depending on the content. Fourth, if the remote is lost in the couch, the iPhone has a function that helps you find it by indicating hot or cold depending on the distance. If you're close, it shows hot. If you're far, it shows cold. 5. If you need to purchase something, you don't need to type your card number and the CVS and wait for a code. When an app on the TV requires a password or a purchase, your iPhone buzzes and you just double-click the side button to approve it with Face ID. And those were just the iPhone ecosystem features, because there are dozens more. For example, you can use your AirPods as headphones instantly. You just need to bring them near the TV and a prompt appears asking if you want to switch audio. It even supports spatial audio for a theater-like experience that won't wake the neighbors. And if you're not alone, your friends can connect their AirPods too and listen together. And it doesn't end there. I can't mention everything, but you get what I mean. It's a full experience built into the system, and the interesting part is that Apple designed it so the more devices you have, the deeper your experience becomes. Genius marketing that makes us buy more things. And just to be clear, even though some Apple users say that Apple TV is kinda outdated, I personally don't agree with that. And honestly, most people who actually use it don't think that either. It's still a really solid device and it's going to stay relevant for a while. That being said, Apple is planning to upgrade it in September of 2026. So if you're thinking about buying one, you could also just wait a bit. The new version is expected to get Apple Intelligence, which should make a Siri much smarter. And it's also supposed to get a big CPU upgrade, most likely up to the A18 chip, which is the same one used on the iPhone 16. That's actually crazy power for a TV box. We're talking about something that's almost on the level of a MacBook Neo, where you could technically even run games like Cyberpunk. On top of that, TV OS is also expected to get a redesign with that liquid style UI that we already see in the newer versions of macOS and iOS. But at the end of the day, it really depends on you. The upgrade is expected around September, so if you really want the newer chip like A17 or A18, then waiting makes sense. But if the current A15 is already enough for what you need, then honestly you can just buy it now and enjoy it without overthinking. Alright, now let's talk about the downsides, because yeah, they do exist. Nothing is perfect, no matter how good it is. The first thing that really annoyed me is the lack of the browser right out of the box. And you can't even install it from the App Store for free. And honestly, that's frustrating because sometimes it's just easier to watch things in a browser, especially when certain streaming services aren't supported. Yeah, there are unofficial ways to install one, but it's way more complicated than it should be. And well, it's Apple, so you don't really get much freedom when it comes to stuff like that. The second thing people might mention is the price. But to be honest, $150 used to feel expensive. Now it really doesn't. In today's market, especially when people are spending anywhere from $800 to $2,000 on a good OLED TV, this actually feels pretty reasonable. So yeah, it could still be a downside for some people, but definitely not for everyone anymore. And to be clear, that's kind of it. I tried to find more negative. I even looked into it deeper, but there's nothing major that really stands out. Alright, quick thing before we finish. I want to promote my Discord. Why not? If you haven't joined yet, now is the perfect time, because before we hit 100k subscribers on YouTube, we're giving out a special role to early members. Right now we're sitting at around 350 plus members. Let's push it to 1000 and make it something big. The link is in the description if you don't know. So yeah, I think that's a perfect place to end the video. Thanks for watching and take care.